now present For the Record.
Welcome to For the Record. I'm Will Keneally. Coming up later in the show, we'll break down the new legislative map proposals and take you behind the scenes at the site of the Democratic National Convention in Chicago. But first, we start with the weather and the city streets. Many residential areas around Madison remained slick even a week after the major snowfall event southern Wisconsin saw. Now, how long are we expecting to see those poor conditions remain? For that, we turn to Madison Mayor Satya Rhodes-Conway. Thanks for joining us. I first want to ask you about your approach overall for removal for the city.
We have a set of policies around when we remove snow, how much snow has to come before we'll send the plows out to do a full plow, how much salt we apply. And these are all streets department policies. So it's not like I am saying at some point, okay, now go send the plows. These are decisions that are made by the street superintendent in conjunction with his team as they monitor the weather. And as you may have seen recently, we actually have meetings when we're expecting a big storm where we bring in all of the agencies that might be impacted and they plan for what that response will be. So it's a lot of different considerations. It's certainly the magnitude of the storm, the amount of snow that's expected, the timing of it, what the temperatures are going to look like. All of that goes into formulating a plan.
So we've heard some concerns come into our newsroom about the status of the roads in Madison. I'm assuming you're hearing the same thing at the city level?
Yeah, of course. And, I've been out on the streets and, driving very slowly and very carefully because, it's winter in Wisconsin and that's what we need to do. This is the kind of storm that we haven't experienced in decades where we had that combination of a lot of snow in a very short period of time, and then an immediate deep freeze, which means that salt is just really no longer effective. And so, we get as much of the snow as we can up, but when you get that deep freeze, it's actually counterproductive to put too much salt on because you start to get melt, which then freezes into ice. And ice is worse than snowpack, right? So we are always thinking about the safety of folks on our streets and trying to make the best decisions given the weather conditions that we deal with.
So we've also heard about the guidance for using salt on things like sidewalks. Has the science changed for how you use salt on the streets at all?
Well, certainly we continue to do the pre-storm prep with brining, and that's really about trying to make sure that ice and snow doesn't bind to the pavement so that it's easier to remove in the long term. And that's really important because it does allow us to use less salt during a storm. But ultimately, what we're trying to balance is in the short term, the safety of folks that are driving and walking and biking on our streets. And in the long term, the safety of folks that are drinking water from our wells. I know there's also a lot of concern about the lakes, obviously. But for me, the primary concern with the amount of salt we use is the amount of chloride that ends up in our drinking water. And we have at least one well that's right on the edge of not being drinkable anymore because of chloride pollution. And that's something that we really have to keep an eye on.
Now, are there any changes that you're considering for future storms here?
Each snowstorm is unique. And so for each storm, we look at, again, what are the conditions? How much snow are we expecting? What are the temperatures going to be? Is there other things going on that we need to be aware of? And the streets department, who, by the way, does a fantastic job. Those snowplow folks, those plows are huge. They're unwieldy, and they are doing a fantastic job. They are out 24 hours a day, covering the entire city. And I want to say a huge thank you to all the city workers that have been working through this storm and every storm that we get in Madison. But anyway, the streets department will look at all of the factors and put together the best plan that they can to remove snow and to keep our city safe. This one was a really tough storm. There's no question. And there's a lot of things that went into that, but primarily it was the immediate deep freeze that followed the snowfall. I will say, though, Will, we still have streets vehicles out basically 24/7 right now. And so folks are worried that that's not happening. No, they are out there. They continue to monitor the main routes. They continue to put sand down to get some traction built up. They go out and proactively sand curves and hills, and they will go out and sand. If somebody comes in and reports a problem to us of a place that's slick, they will go out and sand those places too. So they are working continuously to keep our community safe. And they will keep doing that as we now move into this next week with the temperatures changing and more precipitation expected. And they're going to continue to be out there every single day, keeping our community safe.
And anything else you'd want to add to assuage some of the concerns from our Madison residents?
Yeah, I ask folks to be patient. I ask folks to be polite to the city staff that are out there. They're doing their best job that they can under really tough conditions. And I'd ask people to just, as the streets department says in every communication that they put out, slow down, leave early, make sure you've got enough time to get where you're going, and be careful out there.
Mayor Satya Rhodes-Conway, thanks so much for sitting down with us. Now, the slick streets don't just impact drivers, but they also impact those who rely on public transportation, like city buses, for example. Braden Ross looked into how the city's metro system is coping with those conditions.
Waiting 20 minutes in this Arctic blast is not cool.
Jamal Carter would rather not take the bus, but this week he doesn't have much of a choice.
Well, last Saturday when it first started and it was cold and snowing, my car went down, and I've been having to take the bus since.
The weather that claimed his car is the same that has made taking the bus this week a challenge.
With the weather, we've had a little bit of trouble with. We've had some slide offs, and the cold has caused a few equipment problems here and there.
Metro Transit spokesperson Mick Roosh says they work closely with the Streets Division to keep their routes as clear as they can be.
Well, there are different stop areas that are new for us, and that didn't get plowed right away. We contacted our counterparts over there, and we had that taken care of.
And while the roads have been tough on buses, Metro Transit drivers are prepared to handle a challenge.
Our drivers are used to driving in the winter, and so they're used to just driving safely.
But they also count on other drivers and riders to help keep them on track.
Try not to board at the top of a hill, because it is harder for buses to wait and board at the top of a hill. And just like with any vehicle, just, don't be pulling out quickly in front of anything. Give everyone enough time to stop.
The snow has also posed other issues too. Some riders have had to stand at stops that look more like snowbanks than sidewalks.
We've got more than 1,400 bus stops, so we do our best, but it takes a little while to get to everything.
But as the cold slows everything down, Roosh says everyone at Metro Transit is working hard to stay on time and stay safe.
We are doing our best, and we appreciate everyone's just patience with us.
That's Braden Ross reporting. Now, when we come back, the ongoing lawsuit over Wisconsin's legislative maps, stakeholders have now submitted their own proposals. We'll speak with an expert on how those different plans compare to each other. We'll be right back after this.
This portion of News 3 Now is sponsored by Madison Gas and Electric.
So I'm not sure I could even talk about this, but U.S. Cellular has a new deal where you can get any phone for free. Seriously, wow.
My business sense says that's a great deal.
You're so right. That's a totally awesome deal.
Get any phone free when you switch.
There's a reason big dental bills often come as a shock, because sometimes you don't realize what's not covered until you get the bill. That's why affordable dental insurance from Physicians Mutual is important. It can give you benefits that go beyond what you get from more limited coverage plans. Because no one likes a big dental bill, especially if you're retired or on a fixed income. For a free information kit, call or go online now. This isn't some discount plan or preventive-only coverage. This is real dental insurance that helps cover over 350 procedures, like cleanings, fillings, crowns, bridges, root canals, even dentures, at any dentist you want. Dental insurance from Physicians Mutual Insurance Company helps cover preventive care, basic work, and major procedures, with no deductibles and no annual maximum. For your free information kit with all the details, call now or visit sendinfokit.com.
Physicians Mutual, Physicians Mutual.
A logo can do more than identify your company. It can connect in meaningful ways. energize your team, and inspire your customers. We're 4imprint, and we know your logo on the right product can create moments that matter. With 30 years of experience and thousands of products to choose from, we guarantee your order will be right the first time, on time, and for a great price. Be certain that the right moments will matter. Explore thousands of promotional products at 4imprint.com.
4imprint, for certain.
So I'm not sure I could even talk about this, but U.S. Cellular has a new deal where you can get any phone for free. Seriously, wow.
My business sense says that's a great deal.
You're so right. That's a totally awesome deal.
Get any phone free when you switch.
Welcome back. After lengthy arguments before the state Supreme Court, the stakeholders in the lawsuit challenging the state's legislative districts have all submitted their own proposals. That includes new maps from the governor, state lawmakers, and conservative and liberal law firms. Now, Marquette University fellow John Johnson created an analysis of these different maps and joins us now, and thanks for being here.
Yeah, my pleasure.
So in a broad sense, how do these maps compare to one another?
So yeah, 7 maps were submitted. The Supreme Court ruled they wouldn't consider the Pietering map because he wasn't one of the original petitioners. So that leaves us with 6. They're all drawn to meet the constitutional requirements of meeting the correct population balance, being contiguous, that kind of thing. But there are quite a bit of variation around the other criteria that the court put forward. No single plan performs the best across all metrics.
So I understand there are a few redistricting metrics, things like compactness of the districts and contiguity, which is one of the things that the court is holding firm to here. You can also evaluate the districts on racial balance as well. How are these maps faring on that racial balance issue?
Yes, so that comes down to federal civil rights law that requires there to be a specific number of minority opportunity districts in the state legislature. The way most of the plans handle that was just sort of matching the existing map in those districts, which are all in the city of Milwaukee. So there's not a lot of variation in the plans on that. There is some more variation in how frequently they split municipalities, counties, and wards. By my count, the Will plan submitted by the conservative law firm Will splits the fewest municipalities and counties, though the Law Forward plan is right behind it, submitted by a liberal firm, and the Law Forward plan splits fewer wards than the Will plan. So it'll be up to the court to sort of separate out which of these metrics they care more about. Of course, the partisan balance is very different across the plans submitted by conservative or liberal petitioners.
Yeah, so that's perfect. I was just going to ask, the justices say that they would factor in that partisan balance in their decision. How do these maps fare along that partisan breakdown?
Well, the plan submitted by the legislative Republicans has essentially the same partisan balance as the existing map. They took a least change approach to this latest version that they proposed, really just cleaning up the contiguity issues and leaving it otherwise unchanged. So you see a very pronounced Republican advantage there. Expected them to get 64 out of 99 seats in the assembly based on the election that happened in 2022. The Will plan cuts that by 5 or so seats, the Republican advantage, but does leave a Republican advantage there. And the other plans all create maps where Democrats have a very realistic chance of winning a majority of the assembly in a year where they do well statewide. Now, I tried to measure what would have happened in the 2022 election. We can all think back and remember that a couple years ago. That was a year when, as has often been the case, Republican state legislative candidates did quite a lot better than most of the statewide Republican candidates. And so when I use a statistical model to try to understand what would have happened in 2022 had we used any of these maps, my model thinks it's more likely than not that Republicans would have kept at least a 1-seat majority in the assembly under these proposed remedial maps, although some of them are very close and it's a near toss-up. Of course, 2024 is going to be a much different election year than 2022, I think. The electorate is larger in a presidential year, and if there's a more competitive map, it might be the case that the Democratic Party attracts more successful candidates with better funded campaigns. I'll leave that to the listener to decide how much of a difference they think that might make. One useful thing for listeners to remember is that you might get a contested partisan primary in August out of this map. Some of the plans really significantly redraw the districts around the state, placing multiple incumbents in the same districts and drawing a number of districts with no incumbent at all. So if you're the sort of voter who doesn't always show up in the August primary because there's not much on your ballot, that might be different this year.
So now traditionally we kind of think of Tammy Baldwin 2018 size win as the metrics that Democrats would generally need to get a majority in the state legislature. Looking at some of these maps, what kind of win, what kind of analogy would it take for Democrats to recapture the state legislature?
Tony Evers-sized victory, looking at his 2022 reelection, that would probably deliver the assembly to the Democrats under any of these Democratic proposed plans.
Yeah, certainly interesting. A lot to look out for. John Johnson, thanks so much for joining us. And this week was also marked the kickoff of the presidential primary season with the Iowa Caucuses. Marquette Law School poll director Charles Franklin sat down with Mark Kane and Susan Simon to recap that. Here's more.
Former President Trump easily winning the first contest of the 2024 race.
The director of the Marquette Law School poll, Charles Franklin, is back with us. Hello, Charles.
Hello.
Good to see you. Well, not a lot of suspense at the top of the ticket.
No.
Trump reached that 50% threshold. What is the significance of that?
Well, we finally have actual votes. I mean, that really is the significance. Not that there was a lot of doubt that Trump would win this, but he got 51%. That's very respectable, and a big margin between DeSantis in second place. So big margin as well as high vote count.
But there's only 110,000 votes cast.
And that's notable. That's down from 187,000 8 years ago, the last time there was a contested Republican caucus. I don't know how much to make of that, given the weather and everything. And given Trump's big lead, it wasn't like it was expected to be a nail-biter. New Hampshire next week will be interesting to see if turnout is down from previous New Hampshire primaries, though. So we'll learn a little bit about that. I think, DeSantis got the second place finish that he really needed, but only by 2 percentage points more than what Haley got. So the two of them are really still neck and neck there.
They both think they got a ticket out of Iowa. So now what happens moving forward?
Yeah, I think that's right. That had DeSantis finished a distant third, that would have really been a damaging thing for his campaign. Haley wanted to finish a strong second. She didn't get that. So an open question is, does she have real momentum going into New Hampshire next week or not? But neither of them did poorly enough to be out. Neither of them did well enough to be the dominant, clear second-place candidate.
And DeSantis is skipping New Hampshire. He's went right to South Carolina. Haley is putting all her eggs in the New Hampshire basket.
She basically has to. Trump is strong in Haley's home state of South Carolina, which is coming up later. She really needs to show that she can go head-to-head with Trump. And so in that, DeSantis not trying to campaign there really does give Haley the opportunity to go one-on-one with Trump in a state that she's doing better than she is in other states. See if she can carry that out. News reports today say she's launching a substantial attack ad campaign against Trump, something she's been really reticent to do prior to now.
New Hampshire voters are not quite the same as Iowa voters. So do you have to wait to see what happens in New Hampshire to kind of officially say Trump is the real deal? He's back.
I think that's right. New Hampshire is a very different state than Iowa. It doesn't have the level of conservative evangelical Christians that Iowa does. And it's a sort of northeastern state in which people have interesting mix of libertarian views as well as conservative Republican views. Still, let's not miss that Trump is still leading in the polls there, even though he's not leading by the gigantic margins that he was leading in Iowa. And this is just this coming Tuesday, so there's not a whole lot of time for the race to change between now and Election Day in New Hampshire.
And we lost 2 more candidates.
We did.
Ramaswamy and Hutchinson.
Hutchinson, didn't get to 1% last night, I don't think, but Ramaswamy got 8%, almost 8%. So there's definitely a shift there of taking the low percentage candidates off If you think of the ballot next week, it's going to have more candidates named on the ballot because they've already qualified and the ballots are printed. But I do think we really are looking at Haley's chance to show that even if she can't quite beat Trump, she could come awfully close. If she surprises everybody and actually beats him there, that's a big deal. If she falls short by quite a bit, then that really does seem like the last chance for her and the opposition to Trump.
And when is the last time the winner of the Iowa caucus went on to win the presidency? It's been a long time.
It
20
has
or 30 years?
George W.?
I believe that's right. These early events are not always indicative. The only way you can spin that the other way is that people who win both of them generally have gone on to win.
Oh, interesting.
But we've seen an awful lot of people win one or the other and not be heard of again.
Gone forever. I mean, it's going to be an interesting race.
I mean, it is, and I think Trump's dominance is there. You see it in the exit polls, which showed him winning almost every demographic group. Only voters under 30 was the one group I saw that he lost.
Despite all of his legal ongoing problems.
And there are differences. You see college-educated folks voted for him 30% less than non-college folks in Iowa. But on the other hand, he still won the college-educated as well as the non-college people. So he's strong across the board in the Republican Party.
It's going to be interesting next week.
It will be.
I'm sure we'll see you then.
When we come back, we'll take you to Chicago for a behind-the-scenes look at where the Democratic National Convention will be hosted this August. We'll be right back after this.
MG&E, building your community energy company for the future through the power of working together. Committed to cleaner, more sustainable energy, driven by innovation, fostered by shared values. Visit MGE2050.com.
Get ready, Madison. Madison Magazine's Winter Restaurant Week is here. Over 40 restaurants will showcase 3-course meals from $30 with 15 restaurants serving lunch. Plus, enjoy the perfect pairings with wine and more from E&J Gallo. Check our online guide on MadisonMagazine.com to see which places offer takeout and dine-in. Save the dates, January 22nd through the 26th. Madison Magazine's Winter Restaurant Week, where good times and great meals come together. Presenting sponsor, the Keep Wisconsin Warm Cool Fund, and supporting sponsor, Roth Cheese.
More epic than a stampede of beach stallions. More epic than a buttery tail whip. More epic than Emma keeping her mitts off the fresh muffins. It's the final days of the epic sell-off at Denver Mattress, and that means everything is on sale. Like the Summit, now only $332.49. Check out any Doctor's Choice Hybrid and save $100. Or get a $300 gift when you purchase any Tempur-Pedic. Plus, no interest until January 2028, and free shipping. But hurry, the epic sell-off at Denver Mattress ends soon.
Become a certified direct care professional for free.
Being a direct care provider is a great job. It's motivation to get up and come back because somebody's counting on me.
Direct care workers are essential. They help someone with a disability be seen as a neighbor.
I really wake up every day excited to go to work.
This is something that I'm very passionate about. I want to have a career in this.
Become a CDCP today for free. Sign up at wiscaregivercdcp.com.
MG&E, building your community energy company for the future through the power of working together. Committed to cleaner, more sustainable energy, driven by innovation, fostered by shared values. Visit MGE2050.com.
Welcome back and welcome to the Windy City, Chicago, Illinois. We're here at the United Center, which will be the host location of the Democratic National Convention. Now, we're here in the winter doing a quick media walkthrough to provide you a preview of what to expect come this summer.
For us, the convention this year is going to be a major opportunity for the president and for our party to communicate directly to Americans. And what we're going to do here is build the stage literally and figuratively for President Biden.
4 years ago, Democrats had tried to host their national party convention in Milwaukee, then COVID hit.
We were really looking forward to having you here in America's Dairyland. Unfortunately, the pandemic means we can't do that this year.
But this August, while Republicans will host their convention in the Cream City, Democrats are returning to the Midwest via Chicago.
Being here in the heart of the Midwest, we are well positioned to tell stories, to put faces to names of people who have been impacted by the change this administration is making.
Members of the media got to tour the convention site at the United Center. and hear from Democrats hosting the event on what to expect.
And now, in 2024, we're going to put a convention on with the blue wall that shows how Democrats are changing the lives of people in the heartland and all across America.
That does it for us here in Chicago. We'll be right back after this.
Hello, everyone. I'm giving this lamp away.
I'm interested.
Great. When can you pick it up? Hello?
I'm interested.
Can you pick it up today? Why did you message me?
I'd be interested.
Are you, though?
Yeah.
You bring lamp to me.
Save yourself the hassle of selling stuff online and donate it to the Salvation Army instead. Now accepting donations at our new Madison location, opening this February.
When my patients experience very dry skin, I recommend La Roche-Posay Lipicar Body Cream. One application a day keeps very dry skin away. La Roche-Posay Lipicar Body Cream provides 48-hour hydration and helps repair the skin barrier. Suitable for ages 2 weeks to 100 years old. La Roche-Posay, recommended by 90,000 dermatologists worldwide.
Are record energy costs putting a squeeze on your fixed or limited incomes? With inflation rising at record levels and incomes not keeping pace, you might be one of tens of thousands of Wisconsin residents who are struggling to survive in the blistering heat of summer or the bitter cold of winter. While you haven't asked for it, the Keep Wisconsin Warm Cool Fund and your local energy assistance providers are here to help. No Wisconsin resident should ever have to face the challenge of living without heat or power or face homelessness. For a hand up, apply today and call 1-800-506-5596. That's 800-506-5596. Or visit www.kwwf.org.
Welcome back. We want to give you a quick preview of what to expect coming up this week. Tomorrow, actually, Vice President Kamala Harris will be in the Badger State. Her trip coincides with the 51st anniversary of Roe v. Wade, the abortion precedent that was overturned by the U.S. Supreme Court 2 years ago. Now, the same day, lawmakers will hold a hearing in the state capitol on a new 14-week abortion ban. The bill would ultimately put that decision on a new abortion ban to voters in a referendum, which Republicans are angling to put on the April ballot. Now, it has an uncertain future, however, if the governor decides to exercise his veto. And speaking of the governor, we'll hear him on Tuesday as he delivers his State of the State address. Comes after a contentious budget process this past year and as he's trying to set up Democrats for wins on the ballot this fall. That does it for us this week. Hope you all are staying warm and safe on those roads. I'm Will Keneally. Have a great rest of your weekend.
This has been For the Record.